Hello my friends, and welcome back to the Review Den. You know, one of the nice things about reaching the top of the mountain and making it back down is you get to know what worked for you along the way, and what didn't. Likewise, for Studio Liverpool, the WIPEOUT games of the 6th generation would be where the series found its final form. Fusion took the series to its absolute wildest, while Pure brought everything back to the basics. So, Pulse would be the title to tweak just enough gameplay and style to set the tone for the final trio of games, the Omega series. Now, the first thing you'll notice about WIPEOUT Pulse is its incredible presentation. Releasing a big-name series on a portable console might seem like a recipe for compromise, but kudos to Liverpool for squeezing seemingly every last drop of horsepower from the PSP. Pulse looks detailed, stylish, and runs at a smooth 60 frames per second, right out of the box, no soft modding or meddling required. Tracks feature tons of futuristic architecture, weapons pop from and shake the screen, and extra glowy bits and boost effects have been added to the craft. Normally I like to start my reviews with the gameplay, but this is just such a standout I had to point it out first. A nice showcase for just how impressive the PS2's little brother was. But gameplay is where the real meat is, and again, this game set the tone for the rest of the series. While Pure had players fight hard against the weight and momentum of the craft, and Fusion took the lightning on a rail, is that a term? Of F-Zero X, Pure actually manages to strike a balance between the two. You don't need to worry about losing grip or sliding, but the craft have a real weight to them, meaning you need to start your turns early. Side shifting is much less useful, but you'll still rely on traditional air braking. Trying to appeal to two different styles is often a recipe for pleasing no one, but if the success of the sequels is anything to go by, Liverpool nailed it here. It's challenging while being approachable for general audiences, a far cry from the hit the wall and lose all momentum of the originals. It even features proper difficulty levels for the first time in the series. On easy, first-timers should be able to grab a podium with a little practice, while normal is a more traditional WIPEOUT experience, approachable on slower speed levels, nasty on Rapier and Phantom. You can progress through the game on any level, so thank the devs for a rare olive branch, though if you can master this on hard, you have true bragging rights. Overall, Pure is a lighter, faster handling game than before, and even sees the return of the chicken break if you approach a turn too quickly, something missing from Pure. Easily the most visible changes, though, are the magnetic or maglock sections. Yeah, if you've played any Mario Kart recently, you'll know what you're in for. Pulse's tracks will take you upside down, through loops, and any combination you can imagine, and okay, I have to admit, these are pretty awesome. Some racing games use these as a gimmick, but Pulse will use Gravlock to double back past existing sections, pull negative Gs through cities, or hang sideways over the abyss. The track designs use these very creatively, but not so much to wear out their welcome, and you get a cool lock-on effect too. Likewise, weapons are expanded just enough to add variety without going crazy. Machine guns and the leech beam make their return to the standard roster, as well as ricochet shots and repulsors for elimination rounds, back from WIPEOUT 3. Not quite as fun as the knockout crazy AI from Fusion, but a good compromise. And for content, players get a massive, and massively overhauled, campaign, as well as 12 tracks and 8 ships, with plenty of variants for each. And that's before DLC. See, apparently, some players complained about the campaign being repetitive in Pure, so developers spun things around in Pulse for a much more open-ended race structure. Rather than a series of tournaments and increasing speed classes, Pulse features a grid-based chapter structure, which slowly introduces you to each track through various race types. The player can freely choose between standard races, time trials, lap trials, eliminators, and those stylish speed or zone competitions. Subsequent chapters will introduce new tracks while featuring faster or reverse versions of previous ones. It's a great way to make sure the player gets familiar with each location before moving on, and you don't have to 100% each chapter, but, well, not to be contrarian, but this campaign winds up feeling more monotonous than Pure. In Pure, you only ever had to clear races to move on, but all the forced time trials and lap trials here drag things out. Racing the clock is a great way to polish your skills, sure, but Pulse forces you to wade through a lot of clock trials before facing any opponents. Now, once you do unlock all the locations, there's some great tracks to race. The city locations are total roller coasters, both bright and dystopic, while the Tropic Retreat and Amphiseum add some variety. It'll take some time before you see them, but it's worth the wait. The same might not be said for the ships, though. Each team is available from the outset, no worries there, but alternate liveries or variants can only be locked with tens of thousands of loyalty points, and these do not come quickly. Completing the solo campaign clocked in at around 15 hours for me, but I could easily imagine twice that to get all the skins and variants. Custom races are available, as well as multiplayer and game sharing. And finally, DLC is available, though it was only offered in Europe and no longer for free. Honestly though, while the ships are nice, the tracks feel a little half-baked, so don't feel as if you're missing out. Right out of the box, this game is jam-packed with content. You'll have more than enough racing to keep you busy. For audio, Pulse builds on the already excellent sound design of Pure. The computer announcer now reports incoming weapons, a welcome return, and the game features a full lineup of modern techno from artists like Aphex Twin and Kraftwerk. Even better, you can add your own music by importing MP3s to your PSP. Too cool. Now, all of this adds up to a fantastic game, a top-shelf racing title for the PSP. However, for completion's sake, we can't put it off any longer and need to address the PS2 port. Yeah, see, with 9.5 million PS2s in circulation at the time, Sony finally came to the big brain decision and said, hey, since we bought this studio, maybe we should expose its games to our primary audience. I know, wild, right? Unfortunately, this port was outsourced to a not quite first-tier studio, and the results were less than spectacular. Now, if you never heard of any of this, don't worry, as it was only released in Europe, but this is one of those rare cases where it was actually for the better, as the Spiral House port actually had some, unique quirks that made it less desirable than the original PSP drop. It blanked your memory card. No, seriously, there was an autosave glitch that could corrupt your entire memory card. Now, it did feature improved textures, and they look okay, but it runs at half the frame rate, and comparing the two side by side, this version just looks like it runs in slow motion. It does feature the DLC built in, but removes the screenshot and custom soundtrack options. Now, if you never had a PSP and weren't hit by the memory card glitch, hey, more power to you, but overall, the original PSP release seems like the superior product here, and that's probably what's fair to review. And it's awesome. Sure, some of us might personally prefer the physics of Pure, but I'm objective enough to say that Pulse is an amazing game and quality package from Studio Liverpool. For the sake of bringing the series to a wider audience, they totally found the sweet spot for the gameplay, challenge, and accessibility, evidenced by the fact that, we would see this formula repeated in the Omega games. What about you though? Any thoughts on WIPEOUT Pulse or the earlier titles? Feel free to leave your thoughts below, and thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and if you'd like to help a small channel grow, would you be my next subscriber? I'll be back with another video, and no matter what, be sure to keep going, because you are worth it.